Alright, welcome everyone. This is the very first episode in a series of 2D game development. My name is Tim, and I'm here to go through a bunch of videos, short videos, maybe 10 minutes at most, basically showing you the process, giving you some tutorials, some tips, getting some feedback from you, and making sure that everybody understands what is going into developing a 2D game. So make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button below, and we'll move on from there. So in this first episode, I'm going to just do the setup and the main function. The language that I have chosen is C++. I think it's a very good language to learn. It is a standard across most platforms. Maybe later videos I'll have Unity, C Sharp, other languages, Python maybe, another one of my favorites. I will take it from feedback from you guys to show me how you want the videos to go, but I figured I'd start with C++ and move on from there. So I'm working off Windows 10, Visual Studio 2019, and this is what I got, the community version, so the free version that you can download from Microsoft. So everybody should be able to start at the same point. If you're getting these videos at a later time, then there might be something newer out. So hopefully this stays pretty relevant, um, that you can work towards. Most of the code itself will run on later versions, and for the most part it should run on older versions if you have that as well. So that's just something good to know when moving forward. But without further ado, I think we should get started. So when you open up Visual Studio 2019, you come to this screen. And for this episode, since we're starting from the beginning, we want to create a new project. When we select create a new project, it gives us a list of a whole bunch of languages, projects, templates that we can use. But we don't want any of that. What we're going to be using is empty project. We're going to start from scratch. That means no files will be added to your project. No code will be added to your project. It's going to be blank, and that's what we want. We want to start from blank, from scratch. So we got to name our project. Now, the name of the project can be anything you want. I'm going to call it Project 1, as it's the first project, the first episode, the first project that we're doing on this channel. So we might as well keep it similar to that. You want to choose a location. Visual Studio defaults, if you're using Windows, it defaults to source/repos. But for the sake of my videos, I'm going to move it. So I've selected my location. I put it onto a drive under YouTube tutorials. This will be my GitHub folder so that you guys can go onto GitHub, search DAOscope, and you can find these files listed under GitHub. Solution name, you keep the same, project number 1, the same as a project name, and then leave this unchecked. We want the solution and the project in separate directories. And then hit the create button. So your environment should look like this. It should have these on top, all your tabs: edit, view, project, build. As we move forward through these projects, through these videos, you'll get more and more accustomed to what these menus have. We have a toolbox at the side that could be used in the future. You don't have to worry about it right now. Close that. Oops, I closed it all the way. Over at the right hand side, you have the Solution Explorer, which is something that we will use all the time. You got a Team Explorer in case you are working with a team, more people, so you can share files. You also have the Properties window. The Properties window will be more useful when you do a lot of visual programming, because Visual Studio allows you to do that. We will not be using this. We're going to stick with the Solution Explorer. In the Solution Explorer, we have our solution, which is the main, think of a container, the main container that holds all of our project, all of our files, all of our assets, everything. We have our project, and then in our project we have references to external references, our header files, our resource files, and our source files. We are going to be creating a source file, the main file that when you run your project, you will be running this file, and this file will be accessing all the other files in your project. So what I want you to do is right click source files, and there's an add new item. When it brings up this screen, this is asking you what kind of file you want to add to your project. What we need to add is source file. There's two types of files, two types of main files when it comes to C++, and that's your source file and your header file. Every time you create a source file, in most cases, you will need a header file that other programs will access. Sometimes you can have header files and no source file because the header file contains all the source code that you need. The main file is just a source file, a C++ file. It doesn't have a header file, but it's going to be calling other header files. We're going to create a source file, a C++ file, and we're going to call it launcher, because basically that's what we're going to be doing, is launching our program. So we're going to call it launcher. The location's already going to be chosen for us, and we're going to add it. Well, congratulations everyone, you made it to this far in the video. You got a project set up. You are now on your way to starting a program. This is a beginner's course, a very basic beginner's course, and it's more focusing on 2D game development. If you're here at this point, I'm under the understanding that you probably know what C++ is. You would have to have a basic understanding of the language, the syntax. So when I say function, there's probably a good chance that you know what a function is. The main function is like the basic of the basic functions. It pretty much does one function. It starts your program. See, you could run this right now, and we'll do that by going to the debug menu, start without debugging. There's two here. There's start with debugging and start without debugging. We want to run the program without running the debugger. We just want to run straight through the program and end it as soon as it ends. So let's try that now. We're going to run it. We're going to get an error. The error is, if we hit no here, the error is unresolved external symbol main. That means the main function wasn't found. So let's put that in. The main function, it is at its basic form, is this: int main. That's it. The only thing that I don't have here that we're going to need to put in is the return value, because this function has been declared as having a return value of int. We need to return an int. So let's put that in. Return 0 and a semicolon at the end of every line. Let's try running that now. Debug, start without debugging. And it's running. And I'll move that. And voila. First line tells us the project that was executed and that it exited with the code 0. Well, that was because we put in return 0. No error. We can change that. Let's press any key to continue. Let's change that to a 1 and run it now. You got to get used to this. Control F5. That's the shortcut. Instead of clicking, let's just push Control F5 and run it. It's running. It ran this time, but exited with a code 0. So this is good information to know. You can have in your main menu a conditional statement that says, do this, return 1, or do this and return 0. And then in your documentation, you can put, if your code exits with a code 0, then it was successful. This is future implementation to keep in mind. But let's turn that back to 0. So that is the basic of the main function. You made it to the end. You technically now have a working program, which is great. That's awesome. Okay, before I let you go, there's one more thing about this function that we need to do. And although this is the basic form of the function and it works, there's parameters to the function or arguments to the function that we should add so that external programs that use these arguments are able to grab them, even if they're null. So in between the brackets of the main function, we wanted to put two arguments. We want int argc and character star argv, open and close squares bracket. Okay, so this is technically the main function that you would want to use in every program that you write. This allows you to run the program from the command prompt and attach arguments after the executable, right? Something as a game developer we're not going to use, or not at least in the beginning. But it's good practice to have this in there. So, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and next week we will move forward with more than just the main function. Take care.